some people have already been doing this, great, but that's wonderful. Sing whatever you want, but I will leave this part to start and then that part to start. Here we go. Da pacem cordium, da pacem cordium. We'll go up. Da pacem cordium, da pacem cordium, da
As we savor the glory of a Vermont winter snowscape with those boughs covered in blankets of snow, with more snow expected tonight, more gifts in the ever-changing show that nature shares with us. Let us also remember that for millennia, the Western Abenaki people have called this land home. They, too, have loved and cared for this land in every season of the year. As we appreciate the many joys of living here, let us give thanks to the Abenaki, both living and ancestral, for their legacy of love and stewardship. So good morning. I'm Ginny Sassaman, your worship associate today. It is always an honor to welcome each and every one of you. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or at home watching the live stream, whether you are long-term members or first-timers, or anywhere in between, here we are together joining for Sunday worship at the Unitarian Church of Montpelier. Today, I invite all of you to join me in welcoming our guest minister, Reverend Patricia Hart. Reverend Hart has a wealth of Unitarian Universalist experience. For more than 35 years, she has worn many hats as a lay leader, consultant to congregations around the country, and since 1997 as an ordained minister. She has served 8 congregations, generally as a transitional minister, in New England, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio, 2 of those as co-minister with her husband and also Reverend Peter Newport, who is also here with us today. Since 2019, Tricia has served as developmental senior minister with the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington. And also today, Reverend Hart is doing a pulpit swap with our own minister, Reverend Joan Javier Duval, who is probably at this very moment being introduced by a Burlington worship associate. Our church, the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, is a liberal religious community that welcomes all as we journey together in search of spiritual wholeness and justice in the world. We are so glad you are here with us this morning. As Reverend Hart will be reminding us, ours is a living faith tradition. We can evolve, grow, stretch from generation to generation, or even Sunday to Sunday, changing who we are and what we strive to be as we go along this path. In part, because we are not static, it is always a pleasure to have newcomers and guests join us. If this is your first or second or third time visiting, we invite you to wave or stand so that we might offer you an especially enthusiastic welcome. Well, here's an enthusiastic welcome for anyone who might be joining us and choosing to remain a little quiet about it. For any and all of you, our greeters will be on hand to welcome people into fellowship hour, which begins downstairs immediately after the service. And if you are a recent visitor, you are encouraged to visit the hospitality and membership table downstairs in the vestry to learn more about our congregation and sign up for our weekly e-news list. Now it is time for us to live the spirit of hospitality and together build a loving community by turning to our neighbors and offering a good morning. So let us now share greetings. And now, I'd like to welcome our membership coordinator, Elaine Ball, to the pulpit to help you learn more about another way that you can help build a loving community.
Good morning. I'm Elaine, and I'm here to ask for new or returning volunteers to sign up for our hospitality team. If you would like to learn how to make coffee, to operate the elevette, or to greet people at the front doors as they arrive, you can stop by the table in the vestry and I can connect you with seasoned volunteers who are ready and willing to train you. Another role, a little bit more involved, is ushering. There are a few extra tasks involved, including handing out the orders of service as people enter the sanctuary, collecting the offering, we have enthusiastic offering collectors. And the ushers also count our adults and children in the sanctuary.
1, 2, 14, 37, 400
They try to coordinate with each other a little more quietly in the back to count how many there are on each side. So if you'd like to learn the right ways to volunteer for these roles, you can see me at the membership and hospitality table in the vestry after the service.
Thanks, Elaine. We have one more announcement. Is Chris Hammer here? There he is. So thank you, Chris. Chris will be available to lead a tour of the building to show whoever wants to go on the tour the recent changes in the air quality and audio-visual projects. So you can meet Chris in the vestry after the service to go on the tour. Great. You can find more announcements in the weekly e-news. And also, Please know that you can listen to and watch the service in the fireplace room downstairs if you wish to leave the sanctuary for any reason. Now, let us enter more fully into the time of worship. Let's take a deep breath. Settle in. Make sure your cell phone is silenced. And be fully present as we listen to the prelude.
Our call to worship this morning is from the work of the Reverend Rosemary Bray McNatt, who is also a longtime minister, currently serving as the president of Starr King School for the Ministry. She called this piece "The Essential Work of Justice and Liberation for All." By no means are we Unitarian Universalists perfect. We often fail as much as we succeed. Yet, even when we have broken our vows 1,000 times, that's a reference to come, come, whoever you are, I hope you recognize that. Even when we've broken our vows 1,000 times, we return to this essential work of justice and liberation for all. We do the work best when we remember what church is and what church is not. Church is not a place to hide. It is not the place to get away from the world. It is not a place where we get to pretend that the lives we live in our particular situations are not terribly complex, often confusing, and sometimes depressing. Church is the place where we stand with one another, look the world in the eye, attempt to see clearly, and gather strength to face what we see with courage and, yes, with joy. I hope you will joyfully join in singing the opening hymn today. It's number 347 in your hymnals, Gather the Spirit. Please rise in spirit and body.
This
So Rowan and I worked together all last year, and several times in Burlington we lit the chalice together. And we're just having a little conference here about which chalice lighting words we're going to use. I think that we ought to light the chalice, and I ought to say the words that Burlington is so attached to, and then you'll lead the congregational covenant. Is that cool? All right. These are the words that Burlington always, always, always says. We kindle this chalice flame to remind ourselves, you can speak up, Peter, if you want, to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment.
And now I will lead you in your congregational covenant found in your printed order of service, if you don't have it memorized. We covenant to speak honestly and listen deeply to each other and the voice within, treat each other with compassion and honor our differences, take responsibility for the impact our words, actions, and inactions have on each other, support each other in times of need and of grief, and celebrate the beauty and joy in our lives. Honor the gifts past and be gentle with each other as we grow. Encourage each other in the brave work of creating a more beloved community and a healthy, sustainable world, and forgive each other and start again. In a moment, I will invite you to join in the children's parting song. But first, I want to let you know that we have 3 groups gathering this morning. We have the preschool and kindergarten group that is meeting downstairs in the room between the kitchen and the vestry, the preschool room, it's historically been called. We have the elementary group that's going to be meeting in the children's chapel, and we have a middle school group who's going to be meeting in the upstairs small classroom. So if you fit into any of those groups and would like to join us, we warmly welcome you to. And at this time, I invite you to join in singing the children's parting song as you go.
Generosity is a spiritual value that is central to our personal well-being and the well-being of our church community. It is a blessing and a privilege of our free church tradition to support the shared values of this congregation with the generosity of our collective financial resources. This month, half of our cash offerings will go to our pouch recipient, and for some reason, that printed in a color I can't read. But you see it in there. Is it unlikely? Unlikely Riders, thank you. A Vermont BIPOC nonprofit which mobilizes those it serves to find healing in the mountains while claiming space in the snow sports industry and culture. The other half of the offering will directly support the mission and ministry of this church. If you wish to designate your entire offering to the community pouch, please indicate that with a note attached to your cash or in the memo line of your check. Checks will go to the church unless designated otherwise. You can find the offering pouch at the end of the pews and the side aisles. Please pass them toward the center aisle. Your offering will now be gratefully received.
So take a breath with me, if you would. Let us pause just for a moment in prayer, in reflection, in meditation, each of us according to our own custom and tradition, first in words and then in shared silence. We come together in a special place on a Sunday. Some of us know each other so well, and others not at all. And we come, all of us, with joys in our lives, bring them with us, and we come with sorrow too. Very personal sorrows, and then the sadness that the world brings. I don't know about you, but on the way here I read that there was yet another mass shooting in Southern California last night. We bring these things. We hold them silently, or maybe we speak them aloud and light a candle. In our coming together as a worshiping community, we quiet enough so that we can hear and feel those joys and those sorrows. So do that now. Let us be quiet enough to be able to hear our hearts and feel in our bodies the joy and the sadness of life. And when we quiet enough in this shared space, in this special hour, we might even be able to hear the hearts of those around us and feel the joy and the sadness that is shared in this room. We do that in the name of all that is holy. Let us rest for a moment in the not quite silence that we make together. I have a reading to share with you. This might have been entitled, What Unitarian Universalists Believe. I'm a little unsure whether the author, the Reverend David Bumbaugh, actually gave it that title, but that's the message. He wrote, in part, we believe that the moral impulse that weaves its way through our lives, luring us to practices of justice and mercy and compassion, is threaded through the universe itself. And it is this universal longing that finds outlet in our best moments. We believe that our location within the community of living things places upon us inescapable responsibilities. Life is more than our understanding of it, but the level of our comprehension demands that we act out of conscious concern for the broadest vision of community we can command. Let me do that again. This level of our comprehension demands that we act out of a conscious concern for the broadest vision of community we can command, and that we seek not our welfare alone, but the welfare of the whole. We are commanded to serve life and to serve it to the 7 times 70th generation. We believe that those located on the margins have important contributions to make to the rest of the community of life, and that in some curious way, we are all located on some margin. We believe that all that functions to divide us from each other and from the community of living things is to be resisted in the name of that larger vision of a world everywhere alive, everywhere seeking to incarnate a deep implicit process that called us into being, that sustains us in being, that transforms us as we cannot transform ourselves, that receives us back to itself when life has used us up. Not knowing the end of that process, nonetheless, we trust it, we rest in it, and we serve it. There ends the reading. I am so glad to be with you today, and even though it may not seem like such a big deal to actually find one date when 2 ministers can preach kind of sort of on the same topic and switch pulpits and have it work without a snowstorm or anything feels like an accomplishment to me. So I'm very glad to be with you. Joan and I promised each other sometime in the fall of 2019 that we would do this while I was in Burlington, and we're doing it. This is a good thing. I have been in Burlington since 2019, since the fall of 2019. My dear husband, the Reverend Peter Newport, he and I did co-ministry together for 9 years in another state. And Peter's been retired for a while, and I will soon be retired too. I am retiring at the end of this congregational year, and from Burlington and from active full-time ministry. And right now, the search committee in Burlington is busy doing its work to try to find exactly the right person who can be the candidate to be the next settled minister in Burlington. That person will come in the late spring. The congregation will meet the candidate will meet the congregation, and then, you know how this goes, the congregation votes to call that person, or maybe not, but probably yes, And I mention all of that because that is probably the most visible and known aspect of what we call congregational polity. Forgive me, don't decide right now that this whole sermon is not going to be interesting. Congregational polity, how many of you have heard that phrase? Oh, good, not all of you. And how many of you who have heard that phrase think you know what it means? A somewhat smaller number. Okay, polity simply means the way in which a group chooses or is given to govern itself. talks about authority. So congregational polity says that the way we, Unitarian Universalist congregations, govern ourselves is, where does the authority lie? In the congregation. Some of you are saying that. Maybe you could say it in full voice. In the congregation. Well done. Congregational polity. So this idea of congregational polity shows up in congregations when we call a new minister, but it actually happens in so many ways. If you think about it, at the annual meeting, when you elect new members of the board, when you probably approve the budget. Do you in this congregation, do you church? Not every church does. Sometimes it's the board that does it, but yeah, that's congregational polity too. There are so many examples and really interesting stories. I've been learning and telling some of the history of the Burlington Society because it's amazing and because the congregation doesn't necessarily know it. But in addition to all this, the governing that happens within a congregational setting, we also are all members. By being part of Unitarian Universalist congregations, we participate in the congregational polity of deciding what our association is and what it will be. This is something that those of you who don't go to General Assembly regularly may not think about very much, but in fact, that authority, which is large, actually is given to all of us as members, as Unitarian Universalists, as members of congregations. It is encapsulated in the bylaws. Okay, this is the second moment where I want you to decide this is not going to be a boring sermon. The bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association actually says legally what the UUA is, and it also says what Unitarian Universalism is and what matters most to us, which means the bylaws are pretty important. And right now, this year and the next, we all will be invited to participate in revising one particular section of the bylaws. It's known as Article 2. You've probably heard something about this. Article 2 talks about the purpose of the UUA, and it also talks about our values. In other words, that's where our 7 principles are in Article 2. And it talks about the sources that our religious tradition draws on. In other words, Article 2 talks about what we are and what we try to do and be as Unitarian Universalism. So, right now, this year, we're reviewing that section. There's a commission working on it. We may well vote to revise what it says, and by we, I mean the General Assembly. I'm not going to go through the whole process and all the steps. My hope is actually that many of you, maybe some of you already know that you're going to go to Pittsburgh this year in person General Assembly, like me. Maybe you're thinking about it? Okay. Think about it, and of course you can go remotely too, and I hope that people from Burlington go as well. It's important to do this work together. It's exciting. It's also, I'll tell you the truth, tedious. We always talk often about not wanting to write something in a committee, so imagine a committee of approximately 6,000 people. Tedious, exciting, historic, traditional, and in our Unitarian Universalist tradition, there will certainly be argument, lots of words, and not always agreeing. So you might well ask, why revising our purpose and our principles matters? And why is it actually in the bylaws that we have to review them at least every decade or two? A simple answer why is because the Unitarian Universalist Association, the Unitarian Universalism thing, all of us, we're a dynamic, responsive, evolving group. The world is changing all around us all the time, so what Unitarian Universalists decided those big purposes should be and what our values are, what they decided a few decades ago, may actually not matter, not quite work for us right now. And because though we will never be perfect, we can always try to get things a bit more right along the way. So that's why we have to do it, but why should you care? I want to introduce to you, I want to give to you today a phrase that I learned in seminary: theological anthropology. So theology, is the study of God, of all things divine. So theological anthropology, which I think was a term coined by one of my professors, is how do we fit in with this, with our ideas of God? How do we fit in with ultimate purpose? I think that's kind of an interesting thing. It gets to our deepest understanding, the ones we walk around with and don't even think about, of how human beings are meant to be. What our religious ancestors would say, what are we created to be in the world? How are we supposed to be? Well, the Unitarian Universalist idea says that we are made to use our reason, our conscience, our compassion, our conscience, and our wisdom that we get from life to make the world a better place. This is the bold idea behind Unitarianism in this country, behind Universalism too, and our religious ancestors in the late 18th, early 19th century did this bold thing. They said, human beings, or theological anthropology, not a phrase they use, but human beings, they said, are not fundamentally depraved and sinful, as our Calvinist religious ancestors believed and taught. They felt that very strongly, that we human beings are created with reason and conscience and capable of wisdom and creativity. They decided God did not create the world for us to mess it up and hurt one another. We do mess it up. We do hurt one another, but that was not the divine intention. They may not even sound surprising to you, but a couple hundred years ago, that was bold. That was radical thinking. It got our religious ancestors in trouble, actually. And if you think about it, if that's true, if we human beings with our reason and our conscience and our compassion, if this is the way we're supposed to be, we need to cultivate those things in ourselves. We're not just born already with all of our ideas and our compassion and our wisdom already fully formed. We need to use it, and we need to learn from it, because that's what that interaction is, what makes us grow into the people, the persons that we can be. Think about it. We can learn skills, we can come up with ideas, we can deal with really hard things and accomplish stuff all by ourselves, maybe. But when we do that kind of learning and creating and dealing with change and accomplishing big goals in community, that's what makes us us. It's also how real change happens, the kind that is imperfect and partial, but a whole lot more than any of us could manage on our own. So the question we're being asked to think about as we think about this Article 2 bylaw revision, as we revise the foundational language that announces who we are, is what is at the center of Unitarian Universalist theology and theological anthropology? What good is it? What value might we find in naming and claiming a theological center, and how might it actually help us live out our UU values in the world? That's the question that Joan is asking and talking about in Burlington, and the question I'm bringing to you today. Many, many people have written about this. The reading that I brought you from David Bumbaugh is one of my favorite, partially because he does not hesitate. He does not quibble. He does not say, well, on the one hand and on the other hand. He does not, I'm sorry, I don't know how many of you are as old as I am, so you can remember when Garrison Keillor talked about Unitarians. Remember? I will never forget, it made me cringe, the time that there was a Unitarian minister on Prairie Home Companion giving a prayer, except the prayer took a really long time to start because it needed to be voiced in all of the word, dear God, or beloved being, or conscience of the, and I recognized that. I recognized our good effort to bring in different ideas. David Bumbaugh just says it. He just says it. He says, we believe that the moral impulse that weaves its way into our lives, an assumption that there is a moral impulse, that it's in the universe, and that it weaves away into our lives, luring us, I love that idea, into practices of justice and mercy and compassion. That's who we are. We believe that our location, he says, within the community of living things, places upon us inescapable responsibilities. The idea that it's inescapable helps me to understand why I just can't stop thinking about things sometimes, why there's an issue and I'd really rather just read a comic book, but I need to work on it. You know, it's inescapable. It's a responsibility. And it's not just for my welfare, not just for our welfare, but the whole world. He says at the end, we serve the larger vision of a world everywhere alive that called us and sustained us, is sustaining us, that transforms us as we cannot transform ourselves, and that receives us back when life has used us up. I love that idea, and I love the way he ends, too. He says, not knowing the end of that process, nonetheless, we trust it, we rest in it, and we serve it. It is challenging to be unhesitating, unequivocal all the time. And this is a really important exercise that we are all being called to participate in, this idea of looking again at our values, our principles. Right now, the 7 principles are in the UUA Bylaws. The 8th principle, which I know you all adopted a number of months ago, so did Burlington, is not there yet. And the reason it's not there is because it hasn't been brought before and voted on by the General Assembly. It's been voted within congregations. The job that the UUA board gave to the commission, the Article 2 commission, was take all of it. Take everything we know, take the 7 principles that we've got, definitely include the ideas of the 8th principle, all the realities of the world, the fact that we have a lot more work to do to get it right, and write a new Article 2 that will encompass all of that. The assignment is not a simple one. They made the point in their charge to the committee, I love this, that it's not just legal language, that a lot of us depend on our statements of values, our principles, to fulfill 6 different purposes. They should be theological. They should help us articulate our shared values and theology. They should be social. In other words, they should connect us and other people that might want to join us. They should be educational, because we need to learn from them and teach. They should be personal, like if I'm walking around and I have an issue or question that comes up, I should be able to refer to my values to know what I might do. They should be, this word might surprise you, evangelical, in the basic sense that this is how we spread the news that we have to the world, a way to explain to others who we are. And they should be rhetorical, because they're used in public situations and it defines who we are. So you have to do all 6 of those things in your values. They should be, this is actual language from the charge, inspirational, memorable. It would be good if we could memorize them, right? And poetic. As well as inclusive and welcoming and explicitly anti-racist. I'm kind of glad I'm not on the commission, and I'm kind of glad that some amazing people that I know of are. I'm not going to read to you their proposal, but I want to tell you that it's out. You can find it on UUA.org. And I just want to describe the picture, because it's really more of a picture than it is lots and lots of text. They put 7 values, single words. They're using 7 values. And it's kind of like they describe it as a flower. You could think of it as a circle, too. There's 1 word in the center and 6 around the edge. The word in the center, do you want to guess? Yes, it is love. So you know what's pretty stunning? How many times does the word love occur in the 7 principles that we have? You're not allowed to look. 0. The word love is not in the 7 principles that we know and love. I was pretty stunned. I had to look up and make sure that I was telling the truth. So love is at the center. And they say, one of their sentences is, love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. And then the 6 values are, and there's some text that you can find, but the 6 words are interdependence. Remember the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part? So that's the echoing of what we think of as the 7th principle. Interdependence, pluralism, which is where they locate the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Remember that? And also acceptance of one another, embracing our differences. Justice. You might have guessed that that was 1, but they talk about the multicultural beloved community. That's kind of where most of the 8th principle ideas sits. Transformation. We're adapting to a changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. 2 more. Generosity. I'm not sure that generosity or gratitude or hope is necessarily all that present in the 7 principles either. I don't know. I'll have to do a little bit more work. But the idea is that if we're grateful and hopeful, we will be generous with one another and connected too. And then the last one is pretty close to our first principle now. They use the word equity. Every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. Imagine a flower, not a list. There are so many questions about all of this, how the changes should read and look, how to incorporate all the parts of the 7 principles and the 8th principle that we're rightly attached to, and whether it will get voted in at all. It's not a done deal. The only answer I'm absolutely sure of is that whatever we vote to approve as a General Assembly, it will not be the same as any proposal that we know about right now, because of all that discernment and argument and tradition we have to deal with. We need to work on it together. We need to allow ourselves, I think, to be engaged in the process of deciding together, because these are the most fundamental truths that we already walk around believing in, that define who we are and who we strive to be. For ourselves, for our children, for those who will come after us, who will call us their religious ancestors. According to our theological anthropology, this is our work, it is no one else's. May we embrace it with joy and hope and patience, and may it transform us. So may it be. I think that we get to sing now. The closing hymn is Fire of Commitment in the Teal hymnals, number 1028. It's a rousing hymn, and I hope that whether you're standing or sitting, that you sing it with energy. Don't back up.
Remember, brings a big and bright and
So here are the words that Burlington says as the congregation, as we extinguish the chalice. Am I supposed to be doing this, or are you doing it? Okay, all right, just trying to follow my cues. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again. And what you say?
Build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey, serve human need, and protect the earth, our home.
Our closing words. So let us begin. Let us go forth in the strength of our joy and the power of our compassion and begin our lives again today. This is what we are made for, to love the world, to care for one another, to learn one more thing and let it change us. May our lives be our prayer until we gather again. Go in peace.